Hey guys, Matt here. Tonight we're going to talk about an awesome new study that came out that I'm really excited about, and I'm actually going to be making some changes to my volume recommendations for hypertrophy. So stick around. I'll talk in the beginning what the study was about, and then I'll get into what my recommendations are. If you find this content, the content that I'm pushing out there, helpful, like, subscribe, and comments. I appreciate them. I'll get back to you, and they help the algorithm push out. So I would really appreciate that. Okay. This new study was a meta-regression. A meta-regression is just like a meta-analysis, a study of studies, but I guess a simple way to think about it is they're trying to look at the differences between studies and try to explain why there are differences, which is what makes this study very interesting. They looked at frequency and how that affects volume and hypertrophy. I'm not going to talk about that because that doesn't change. That just reinforced what I think, what I do, and what I recommend for people with hypertrophy as far as frequency goes. So I'm going to leave that one. But then they looked at volume and how volume affects hypertrophy and strength. Now they saw growth, they saw hypertrophy, muscle growth from 4 sets up to like 40 sets, 42 sets, something like that. And more growth, more hypertrophy as you ramped your way up. And then diminishing returns at some point where you're going to eventually do too much. Growing muscle is always going to be a balance between stimulating the muscle and being able to recover from your training. So at some point you simply just do too much. So my recommendations for volume per muscle group per week that you're trying to grow is still going to be 10 to 20 sets. All of those should be working sets pushed close to failure. So that doesn't really change. But where things got interesting, they looked at volume 3 different ways. So they looked at total volume, fractional volume, and direct volume. Total volume is from everything that I always read is how most studies are done. So they take a movement and they don't really distinguish between the primary movers and the synergist muscles, the helpers. So they look at like a bench press as being a set for one set of bench press is a set for your chest, your triceps, and your shoulders. So that's total sets. Direct sets says only the primary mover for that exercise gets counted. So rows don't count at all for biceps. So you want to get your bicep volume in, that's got to come all from direct work, dumbbell curls, barbell curls, cable curls. Okay. And then they had fractional sets. Fractional sets are very interesting, and that was actually where the study found the best growth. So direct sets was the worst, total sets was good, but fractional sets seem to be the best, and so that's the direction that I'm going to move with things. And it actually reinforces a lot of what I see with my own training and with other people's, but it explains a lot. Fractional set says, so you do a bench press, the primary mover for that is going to be the pecs. And they find that with compound movements, the primary movers tend to see more hypertrophy than the secondary movers do, the synergist, the helper muscles. So what then they said is that a bench press would be 1 set for chest, but a half a set for triceps. A set of pull-ups would be a set for lat, but a half a set for biceps. So we're now counting in this fractional volume. So if you want to get in that 10 to 20 range, say you're doing 12 sets of chest per week, and you want 12 sets of triceps per week. So you do on Monday, you do 6 sets of bench press, and on Thursday, you do 6 sets of an incline bench press. I've always counted that as 12 sets of chest, 12 sets of front delts, 12 sets of triceps. What I've found with myself though is I don't get a lot of tricep growth out of that. I'll get good chest growth, but not as good tricep growth. It's not completely stagnant maybe, but not really good growth. If I'm trying to build my arms, I need more direct work. And you've probably heard the smaller muscle groups, your biceps, your triceps, your side delts, they can take a lot more volume. They're just not as systemically fatiguing. They're not as big, they're not as powerful, so they don't incur quite as much damage. They recover a lot faster, so you can train them a lot more frequently, and you can train them with a lot higher volume. So what I found is that, all right, I've already done 12 sets of triceps because I did 2 compound horizontal pressing movements. But if I want them to grow, then I need to throw in maybe 3 sets of skull crushers on my Monday workout and then another 3 sets of cable overhead work. So now I've gotten in an additional 6 sets. So I looked at that as the triceps can handle a lot of volume. I'm up to 18 sets per week. What this says is no, I'm actually back just at 12 because the bench press and the incline bench press counted as a full set for pecs, but only as a half a set for triceps. So that's 6 sets for triceps. So by putting in another 6 sets that week, I'm right back up to 12. That makes a lot of sense to me. So my recommendations are still going to stay for the muscle groups you want to grow, stay in that 10 to 20 range. You can't grow everything all of the time, which is why oftentimes with the mesocycles that I use myself and that I prescribe for other people are focused on something. A lot of the time they're pretty symmetrical, trying to grow hamstrings, quads, chest, and back. But then on the smaller muscle groups, the smaller movements, I'll tend to say like actually the mesocycle that I'm running right now, I want my arms to grow a little bit more. So I've added in 4 sets of direct arm work on both of my upper body workouts, which is getting me an additional 8 sets of direct bicep and tricep work each week. So if I use this fractional method, that's putting me at 14 sets of triceps, 14 sets of biceps, 12 sets of chest, and 12 sets of back. I'll get good growth out of that. So I can do that for now, but I'm not doing any side delt work. I'm not doing any traps work. I'm not doing any rear delt work. I'm not doing any direct glute work. Some of those smaller muscle groups I just kind of put onto the back burner for right now. They're receiving stimulation. Rear delts are receiving some stimulation from the rowing work that I'm doing, from the pull-up work that I'm doing, but they're gonna be back at like a maintenance volume, 6 sets for each of those. Same thing with glutes. I'm getting most of my glute work. I'm not doing any kind of a lunge movement right now. I'm not doing any hip thrusting type movements right now. So all of my glute work, they're getting sore, but they're receiving all of that from squats, really deep squats, leg presses, and stiff-legged deadlifts. So they're at maintenance volume for right now. If down the road I feel like, all right, I want to move on from arms, I'm happy with the growth that I got, and I want to focus more on my side delts, I'll just cut out the direct arm work, drops them back to maintenance volume at 5 to 6 sets, depending on how many sets I'm doing for chest and back and how compound those movements are. And then I can focus on the other one. So I'm gonna be redoing all of my calculations, everything from that. I'm gonna start counting. I'll have to look back at a bench press exercise as that's 1 set for chest, but a half a set for triceps, and use that for all of my spreadsheets, then calculate the volume along with it. And so it's gonna drop that volume back in half. And that's an easy way for me when I'm building up my mesocycles to see, am I at like a maintenance volume or am I in that good hypertrophy range of 10 to 20? So for your own training, think about all of your compound exercises. Look into what is the primary mover for that. Count that as those full sets. Try to get those in that 10 to 20 range, and then whatever you're trying to grow, get them into 10 to 20 range, but count the smaller muscle groups. Anything compound is only going to hit them for a half a set each, and then make sure you get that volume back up in there. I hope that helps. It helps me. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to start applying that and see what that does. But hopefully that works for you guys too. Have a great workout.